Next is specification number 3. This part asks us to understand the discontinuous variation results in a limited number of phenotypes with no intermediate forms. Examples of this include ABO blood groups, as well as seed shape and seed color in peas. So, discontinuous variation occurs when a trait shows clear and separate differences between individuals. In this type of variation, there are distinct categories, and no intermediate forms exist between them. Discontinuous variation occurs when a trait shows clear, separate differences between individuals. In this type of variation, individuals fall into distinct categories, and there are no intermediate forms between these groups. Traits that show discontinuous variation are usually controlled by a single gene or a small number of genes. They are also hardly affected by environmental factors, which means the environment has very little or no influence on the trait. For example, human blood groups are a form of discontinuous variation. A person can have blood group A, B, AB, or O, and there are no intermediate types between them. Another example is the ability to roll the tongue, where a person can either roll their tongue or cannot. Sex is also a discontinuous trait, where individuals are either male or female. In pea plants, seed shape and seed color also show this type of variation, with clear categories such as round or wrinkled seeds, and yellow or green seeds. The presence of a widow's peak hairline is another example, where it is either present or absent. When discontinuous variation is represented on a graph, it appears as separate bars or categories rather than a smooth curve, because there is no continuous range of values. Discontinuous variation is mainly influenced by genetic factors. From a genetic point of view, discontinuous traits are usually controlled only by genes. This means the trait is determined by the alleles a person inherits and cannot be changed easily. For example, a person with genes for dwarfism cannot become taller just by improving the diet. Eye color is also mostly controlled by genes, where people generally fall into categories like blue or brown, although colors such as green, gray, or hazel may appear due to interactions between genes. Hair color can also involve a few genes. For instance, red hair is often a clear discontinuous trait, but overall hair color can sometimes appear more varied because of gene interactions. From an environmental point of view, most discontinuous traits are not affected by environmental factors. For example, a person's blood group or biological sex cannot be changed by diet or lifestyle. Similarly, environmental changes do not affect traits like eye color or the ability to roll the tongue. Other examples of discontinuous variation include genetic disorders such as cystic fibrosis and sickle cell anemia. In plants, certain flower colors or shapes are also determined by a single gene and show clear, separate categories. When discontinuous traits are shown on a graph, they are represented using a bar chart. This is because the traits fall into distinct groups, rather than forming a smooth, continuous range. We use bar graphs to represent discontinuous variation. This is because discontinuous variation consists of distinct categories with no intermediate values between them. For example, in traits like blood groups, a person can belong to group A, B, AB, or O, and there are no in-between types. In a bar graph, each category is shown as a separate bar. The height of each bar represents the frequency or percentage of individuals in that category. Since the data is categorical and not continuous, this type of graph is the most suitable way to display it. The spaces between the bars are also important. They show that there are clear gaps between categories and that no intermediate forms exist between them. In contrast, continuous variation, such as height or weight, is usually shown using a histogram or a line graph. This is because continuous traits form a smooth range of values without clear separation between groups.